Hello, everybody, and welcome to our October Booksplosion Book of the Month live show for Cemetery Boys by AIDEN THOMAS. Yay! This is our book of the month for the month of October, and we are just now getting the chance to discuss it. We're sorry for having to change our live show so many times.
Sorry.
For 1 year. We're going to be talking about it, but first, before we get to the discussion, we have a few announcements, maybe just one announcement, but our next Booksplosion book of the month for the month of November is The Gilded Wolves! Yay! Oh,
Woo! I'm so unprepared. Where's my
Christine does not have
search for my copy. It took me like 10 minutes to search for it in my pile.
I think it's on my other bookcase.
That's all right. We have a live show date set for this already, which we will hopefully not be changing at all. That is November 28th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So pick up this book, join us in for that discussion. It's going to be great. Does somebody want to say what this book is about? I don't even really know that I know.
It's about a heist and a mystery. And I started it back when it came out, and I got 3/4 of the way through before I had to read something for a deadline, and then never got back to it. But it kind of has a Da Vinci Code feel in France at the turn of the century, at the turn of the 19th century. And there's these different, I forget, guilds, I don't know what they're called, but groups of people with different types of magic. And there's scandal afoot, and something is stolen, and people are killed, and I don't remember the specifics, which I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Is it a duology?
Yeah. Is it not a trilogy? It's a duology?
Pretty sure it's a duology, and the second book is out.
Silvered Serpents, yeah.
So it's completed.
Yes, so our live show for this is going to be on the 28th. If you want to pick it up and join us, that'd be awesome. We haven't talked about Dear Booksplosion, so we might
have a
be doing
date?
Booksplosion this month.
Do we have a day? We can schedule one.
We'll talk about it after. We'll tweet it out.
Talk about it out.
I'm
so sorry. This was pushed because my deadline was pushed and the book was a mess. I'm sorry.
I already have it marked on my calendar for next Wednesday.
Okay. Cool. Well, then it's next Wednesday. Let's do
it. Wednesday, see you there.
Writing themed because of NaNoWriMo.
There you go.
Join us on Wednesday, but I guess is only a couple days away at this point.
We are so prepared, but anyway, guys,
it's been a week with the election.
Honestly, yeah, everything that's been going on in the world, it's a little bit cray right now. We're drowning. But we're making it. We're here, and we're going to be discussing Cemetery Boys. Does somebody want to give a description for this one?
I could try. Okay. So our lead character, Gabrielle, comes from a family of brujas, and they can see spirits, and their job is basically to release them from the between two worlds. So when you die, I think if you don't feel settled, or if you don't feel they don't really go into it except in the beginning, and I forget if it was you feel like you have unfinished business or something, or you're lingering, they release that spirit to the next world. And if they don't release the spirit, eventually it goes maligno. That means it turns into kind of a demon who just causes destruction. So Gabrielle is trans, and his family is very traditional, and they don't consider him a bruja. So they don't let him do the ceremony. And so throughout the book, he's just really trying to prove to his family that he is a bruja. And he does the ceremony by himself in the beginning, and it grants him the goddess of death, the god of death, that grants him the bruja abilities. And even though he has the abilities, he still doesn't feel like he's proven it. So he spends the book trying to like show them that he can release a spirit and he can do the magic that Brujas do, so that he's accepted by his family.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's like the basic premise of our main character. But then when we get into the plot, there's like a murder mystery. And
yeah, of course. Spoilers.
I think you're going to do spoilers about that.
Spirits and ghosts, then I think it's safe to assume someone's going to die at one point.
Yes, so that is what Cemetery Boys is all about. We're going to share some of our non-spoilery thoughts before we get into spoilers, but also I wanted to say, if you have any questions to ask, drop them now and we will get to them during the discussion portion. So who wants to kick off with their thoughts?
I can go.
Kick it off.
Okay, so I really loved all of the oh my god, world building fantasy elements of this. I felt like they were really grounded, and it was just done really well in a way that you didn't feel overwhelmed by like the rules and stuff that was happening. And as we progress and like there is more fantastical stuff that we delve into toward the end, it doesn't feel like, sometimes it feels like out of the blue, you know, in a book like this that feels so grounded. It feels like, oh, where are these fantasy things? Like, what's going on? But this didn't feel like that at all. It felt like very much in line with what we were building up to. And I really was happy with all those aspects of it. I felt it was like not overwhelming at all, which is sometimes happens with a fantasy book when they bring in lots of different stuff toward the end. And I loved the romance. I wanted more. Like we finally, like, obviously toward the end, you finally like get the romance stuff, and it's like a more of a slow burn. But it's always like, okay, we're done. It's over. Like, but I wanted more time with them together. Now that they really like each other. Yeah, it was really fun. It had lots of different aspects to it that came together really well. I feel like it's really hard to talk about this without
I know,
spoiling it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I loved the world building in this. I thought it was so interesting. And I feel like this book is a standalone, but we could totally have more in this world.
Yeah.
I would love to see more of a series, or even, I think this would be a great like TV show adaptation.
Yeah.
Of it almost reminded me
I think
of Vampire Slayer and like the, you know, haunting graveyards and like
yeah.
Like
I think it's signed on. I don't know if it's a film signed on or a TV series.
I remember hearing that too, but
I definitely saw an announcement about it.
I would be into that. I think it'd be a great TV series, especially because then we could get our main characters being together and like having adventures, and that would be. I really love the characters. There's a character named Julian, and like once he shows up, I was just flying through this book and loving it because he's so much fun. And the dynamic between the two main characters was really great. I really loved that storyline, their relationship storyline, and also Yadriel's sort of personal storyline with his struggles with his family and his identity, and you know how Julian would ask him, be like, "Who are you trying to prove yourself to? Like you already
that was a really great scene.
You already know who you are. Like who are you still trying to prove yourself to?" And how he was just so accepting. I really enjoyed all that. I will say I found the plot to be a bit predictable. Like by chapter 2, I was like, I figured how this is all going to end. And much exactly what I thought was going to happen happened. Yeah. So I wasn't too surprised by anything in that. But that wasn't like a huge low point for me or anything, because I loved the characters so much, and like it felt like their personal journey was more forefront than the murder mystery plot and the plot that was going on kind of in the background.
Definitely. Yeah, I like really agree with that. Like, because even I could like tell what was going to happen. I wasn't like 100% sure, but like I kind of thought I knew, and like that didn't really take away anything, because like there's so much more to the story than just about like that one thing. Like it's also about like his journey of being trans and like, you know, acceptance and like loving himself too. And I just loved how much was going on in this story. Like there was just so much to like enjoy. Like I never felt like I was bored at any point because there was so much going on. And I love the writing style as well. Like I felt like it was a really rich writing style, and he did a great job of like, again, like what Christine said, world building. I feel like I'm just saying the same thing that you guys are saying, but
everything introduced really nicely. Like the pacing and the flow of the story just worked really well.
Yeah, and also like I'm normally somebody who's like I would read this and be like, oh, this is like Insta-love, because like it's over like such a short amount of time, and like, you know, the relationship is really fast, but like I didn't feel that way in this one. Like the relationship like developed really naturally and like didn't feel like too in my face, and like I don't know, like sometimes Insta-love can just be like too much for me, but like in this book it was not bad at all. Like I was like, okay, I'm here for this.
I don't even know if I would call it Insta-love. Like the story does take the course of a couple
it's like it's so short. That to me would be Insta-love.
But they're not instantly in love. Like the thing is, like I feel like a lot of people like to group Insta-love, but like there's Insta-like. Like it's like they're not like, oh, we're in love forever. Like they really like each other, and they like feel.
It happened right away. Like it was very subtle in the beginning.
It's like through like getting to know each other and stuff. Like that's how like any crush works.
I would still call it Insta-love because that's like falling in love. That's so fast for me.
My like opinion on like Insta-love has really evolved as I've just gotten older. I feel like a lot of like the Insta-love stuff was like in that paranormal phase where like immediately they're like, oh my god, I love you, like when they say those words, but like when they like each other
about it was like, I will die for you, right?
You're my life. Like that's Insta-love. And then like when there's people that like each other, like when they both die at the end, like you like each other a lot, but you're not like, oh my god, I'm gonna die for you and love. Like you're together, talking, getting to know each other like constantly for this day, and like that's what they were together constantly for these 4 days, and like he was in such a dire situation. Like you know, everything changes when like it feels like life or death.
And they were together nonstop for days, and they spent a lot of time. I thought it progressed slowly. I thought it was.
It did. It did. I was
not Insta-love.
I know. It was like one big.
I was okay with it.
But we're just discussing Insta-love in general. But like I feel like it was like one big long first date, and by the end of it, they're like, "This is going really well. I don't want it to end." And of course,
like this book made me realize that I don't know if it's really a trope, but I love that story element where it's like two characters want to be together, but there's like complications, and like because like obviously, well, I don't know.
I don't think it's a spoiler. It's like
okay, that's true. So Julian is a ghost. So spirit. Yeah. And so that obviously adds a complication because like you can tell that he's falling in love with Julian, but Julian's a ghost, and like how is that going to work out? Like I love that kind of like trope where it's like they want to be together, but like how are they going to be together? Like how do they make this work? Kind of like the Dark Artifices, that whole relationship in that trilogy. Like how's that couple going to end up together? You know, I just like I don't know. I love that trope. No.
I agree. I love that trope as well, especially in a situation like this where one person is a ghost and one person is not. Like, I think it's just so much fun because it's like, how do you work around that? Like, there's this inherent tragedy to the relationship.
This is a little far with that trope. It's like he's literally dead. So.
Literally dead. But anyway, we are heading into the spoiler territory here. So if you have not read the book, I recommend it. I think you should go read it right now and then come back and watch the rest of the discussion. So
agree.
Agree. All right, spoiler time.
Spoiler time. Does anybody have anything that they like want to specifically talk about?
I did. I wanted to talk about because Kat and you. Did you say you thought the whole time you knew the end thing?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yes. So like the beginning of this book I was listening to, I was doing 50 other things. So I didn't even wasn't thinking how I was just listening. And then halfway through, I was like, oh my God, this is what's going to happen. And then but it was one of those revelations where it was it felt like a good, it wasn't oh, this is going to happen. It was oh, this is where they're leading. I see what they did there. And I felt really good when it actually happened. It wasn't one of those predictions where I was oh, I'm going to be upset if this is what happens, you know?
Yeah, you ruin the story if you knew it.
Yeah.
My whole thing with that storyline was I feel like the information could have been relayed slightly differently. In chapter 2, I feel like we learned that the uncle has no power and that he was kind of, hurt and longing for power when he was skipped over as the head of the family. And then 2 pages later, it's oh, there's also this ceremony and these daggers that are missing that can grant someone.
I didn't think they were missing until I heard her say it again. I just thought she told the story of those daggers.
But that's the other thing I want to say. I feel like they shouldn't have mentioned the daggers in the beginning and just
had them in the middle
where the grandmother is telling the story. And I also would have loved it more if Yadriel had figured it out and pieced it together and just had a thought hey, there's 3 people missing plus my cousin, and the daggers are missing. What if it's another Brujo who is doing this, and just had the idea. I felt all the reveals were saved up until the very end, and I feel that could have been kind of a more powerful thing for Yadriel to realize oh, maybe it's one of the Brujos who did this and who is doing this. Especially because I felt it was kind of obvious where we were going. So I wanted him to pick up on it sooner. I was just think about it a little harder.
Yeah, I mean, I could see how that feels almost like mythology to him and not real. If you grow up with this story, it doesn't feel like a real thing that you're going to encounter. And I could see how, obviously, you wouldn't think of his uncle because his uncle's the only person that feels like he's accepted by. Yeah. So that part of it, I could see him not realizing. Yeah, once we got further in and we heard the story again, and obviously we're okay, that's what's happening. But it's still, for him, I'm trying to be maybe, you would just be that's ridiculous. That's Greek mythology. That's it's something that's not real to him. It's a story.
Right.
So I don't know. But it's why does she even have those daggers in the first place? Almost they just seem dangerous to have.
Yeah.
And it's just,
there was the part of the story where it's the first family of Brujos, so they're given to watch over them, but also at the same time do they need to exist though?
Yeah, it's you guys get this atom bomb of power to put in your basement. That's dangerous for anyone to have.
Oh man.
Anyway, okay. So what other spoiler stuff do you want to talk about? What was your favorite? Oops, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say we could talk about our favorite scenes.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing.
Standout scene at all? I personally just love the finale and just how everything came together at the end. I was emotional.
Yeah.
I loved everything the Julian chapters at the end.
Yes.
Yeah, me too. I liked the crux, the scene in the little underneath the church in the cult area. I thought that was really well done. And to know at that moment, because while you're reading it, you're kind of thinking okay, what is the loophole that we're gonna have that Julian is not dead? How are we gonna bring him back? Because they talk about how you can't bring someone back from the dead, but you can. Yeah. So what does that mean? How do we do that? And then to see that he actually technically wasn't fully dead, and that's why he couldn't cut the thread in the beginning. It's that was cool. I thought that was a really
that was the one thing that I didn't call was he came down there and he was still alive, and I was oh, he's still alive. But then
yeah, I know. I was really? You couldn't heal him?
See, that to me made sense because I was yeah, he has to die so that Yadriel can bring him back to life.
Well, Maritza brought him. Wait, Maritza brought Gabriel. Yeah.
Julian Bexley.
Yeah.
I also really loved. Oh, there are so many little parts that I loved. I love their last day together. How Julian just wanted to like have a good time and just like hang out and steal a car and go to the bonfire. I loved all the little bits of them in school together, especially when Julian is like messing with people in class. I thought that was really cute and fun. I loved the scene where they go to see Julian's brother, Rio, and Gabrielle like stands up for him and is like, well, you don't know him very well if you think he would actually leave you.
Yeah. I like the first night together when he was like, oh, I guess you can sleep in my room. And like, he just like doesn't stop talking the whole night.
That was fun.
That was really fun. I really liked the scene at the end with when he goes into the church and all his family's there and they make like their nice speeches and stuff. That's nice.
I
just loved the acceptance with his dad was like a big thing for me. Like I loved that scene so much. Just finally.
Even his grandmother finally called him a nickname ending in the masculine form of the verb instead of how earlier in the book she kept calling him feminine words.
Right.
Oh, I also really love this scene where he like turns around and Julian had like crossed out his dead name and wrote his Gabriel in the yearbook. That was really cute.
That's nice. We have a question.
I cried when he did that. I was like, that was so nice.
No. How much did you love Julian's friends?
I really liked them. I thought they were a fun group.
I wish we had gotten a little bit more from them.
Yeah, I was like, I feel like I don't know them that well.
Yeah, I did like the moments we did get with them, though.
Luca, I felt really bad for hearing like his backstory. But yeah, his other friends, I like feel like we just got like a taste.
Right.
A little drip. I was really afraid when they stole that car from his brother. I thought like he was gonna go really mad on them.
Phoebe asks, who is your favorite character in Cemetery Boys? I feel like I have two. I can't just pick one.
I'm torn. I like our two main characters.
Okay, besides them, let's do like supporting characters.
But there are none except Maritza.
Maritza and who else?
That's really the only one we know except for his dad and like his uncle.
Oh well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean like my favorite would have to be Julian.
I don't know. I just loved Maritza.
Or Gabriel. I like Maritza too, but I like Julian better.
Julian brought in a lot of humor, and he was just so great. What about you, Kat?
And you guys all said it.
I know.
I do have a question. I might have missed if this came up later in the book, but I was looking for it and I don't think it did. When they met his brother, Rio, they got a sense that he had an illness or an injury or something, but then I feel like that was never addressed again.
Oh, I didn't pick up on that.
It's just like one little line, how they like could sense something about him and it wasn't a spirit thing. It was like he might have an illness that needs healing. But then like it was never brought up again. And I was like, well, do we need to heal him? Like is something going on?
Is this a duology?
I don't know.
This is irrelevant and not something that needs healing, but I felt like I was wondering if Julian had like ADHD that was never diagnosed, so he had trouble in school and that's why I didn't like it.
I could see that.
Oh wait. It's not saying that this is a like duology or anything on Goodreads. So
I found the paragraph where it talks about it. Do you want me to read it?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is when they first come face to face with Rio. Almost immediately, Yadriel could feel something coming from Rio. When Yadriel looked at Maritza for confirmation, she gave him a confused look like she felt it too. He couldn't pin down what it was. It wasn't a spirit sense, definitely something having to do with his health. Julian hadn't mentioned his brother having any illness or injury, but there was something there.
Interesting. Why would that be mentioned and then not like?
I don't know. Maybe it was meant to. Maybe there was more in like an earlier version of the book, or like there was
Maybe.
a plot thread that was like meant to go somewhere but never brought up. Or I don't know. I read that and I was like, oh, so does he have an illness? Like, is that another problem weighing on this poor family? Like, but then I was hopeful because I was like, well, Julian just met a bunch of healers, so like maybe everything will be okay.
Wait a minute. Didn't we hear something like one of his family went to a healer?
Yeah, he mentioned that before.
Was it his brother?
I just lost that part of the book.
No.
Yeah, because for some reason they had already like looked into somebody who was probably a healer.
Yeah.
Like
I might be reading too much into this.
Yeah. Maybe. Oh man.
Yeah, but it's a really cool world, and there is so much more potential to have more stories in it.
I mean, like that you were mentioning about the healer, about how like one of Yadriel's, I don't want to say cousins or something, is like in medical school, like training to be.
Yeah, that was really interesting. Yeah.
To see how they incorporate. And then there are other members of his family who like do the whole like aromatherapy, like approach. Like I thought it was just really interesting.
I really like that.
One of Aiden Thomas's next books is being pitched as Gay Titanic in Space, which is interesting.
I saw that book announcement.
Wow, cool. Yeah. Titanic in Space. I always think of the Star Trek movie with Cumberbatch in it as Titanic in Space, even though it's not really like a love story, but like when it's falling from space, I'm like, this is Titanic in Space. You guys didn't see that movie, did you?
No, I haven't.
Well, there's a big spaceship falling out of space, and like it's like the Titanic inside of it.
Interesting. Not seeing more questions.
Did you guys like the scene where the grandpa went maligno? It was like, it's like really sad.
It was sad, but that was one of the scenes that made me go like, this should be a TV show, because we have like these, like that's what the kind of thing that I would want in a recurring series, is like encounters like that.
Yeah, yeah. Especially when it's people you know, it's like really devastating.
I mean, it did end up resulting in a really nice scene where his father accepted him and was like, oh, you've got the blessing. Like, I'm sorry, I didn't think it was possible, and you did it. And like accepted him, was like, you're gonna be in the the group of the new recruits for this year.
Yeah, it's a very nice scene. But like to say goodbye to your grandpa because he's like trying to kill you. Really sad. I'm trying to find where this was signed on to like a movie or TV, and there's this article on Sci-Fi Wire, but it just seems to be talking about the book. So
maybe maybe it's just like the rights have been sold, but it's not like in development yet.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
I don't know. Cemetery Boys option.
Who do we want it to be picked up by? That's the question.
Well, I would want it to be a TV show like Kat said. I feel like it has a lot of potential there.
Do we want like HBO?
I feel like that actually this could be a really good CW show.
Oh, I could see that.
I think they could do a really good job with it. It doesn't need HBO because like this is the type of stuff that CW is really good at.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, also, I don't know what studio would do it, but it would be great for Netflix too.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
How did you feel about Maritza being a vegan?
I was frustrated because I was like, you have this cool power. You're throwing it away, Maritza.
I have
like she could heal people, and she's not healing people for animals.
Yeah.
My thing about this is probably an unpopular vegan opinion. But I think it's one thing to not partake in like consuming animal products and like participating in that kind of animal cruelty. But when it comes to like a human dying in front of you or using animal blood, like
I'm using the animal blood.
Yeah, I would, and like, it's a tricky topic to navigate because people have very strong, passionate opinions about this, and even among vegans, like people have all sorts of different lines that they draw. But like, this is the line that I would draw, whereas like I would use animal products to save human lives.
Right.
And I'm sorry, but I would. And you can still not participate in animal consumption and like that whole terrifying ecosystem of cruelty.
Right.
So yeah.
I agree.
I have a question. What books would you recommend to people who loved this book?
Ooh.
Well,
The Victoria Club's The Archive.
Ooh, that's a good one, Kat. I like that recommendation.
Also, Kirsten White's Paranormalcy is a fun one that has a almost similar vibe.
I want to say Ninth House, but it's definitely more mature. So
I don't know why, but I'm kind
so
of I maybe the Raven Boys, maybe.
The Raven Voice feels a little different, but like, yeah.
I just think like layered storytelling, kind of.
Yeah.
That's kind of the vibe I'm getting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the Raven Boys has a more literary slant. Like this was more commercial and fun. I mean, not that the Raven Boys isn't fun, but it has more focus on a more literary style, I guess.
Yeah,
I think like Ninth House is a very like if you like this, you would like this. If you could watch a rated R, like if you could read rated R.
If you're of the age. I still need to read Ninth House.
So good. I just like I'm making my like book list of 2020, and I like realized I haven't like looked up if there's any news, and there's still no news. When is she writing the next one?
Not for a while. It's because the next Nikolai book is coming out next year, so I feel like it's going to be another year for the next. That's why I haven't read it yet, because it's going to take 1,000 years for the series to be anywhere near complete. It's like a series or something. I
know, but it's so good. So like, it's worth reading. Like I want to read it again, but like I want to read it again closer to the release of the second one.
Yeah, that's why I'm waiting to read it. Period.
What about movies or shows that you would recommend based off this?
Oh, The Vampire Diaries.
Oh, Vampire Diaries.
So good. I saw that Reagan's doing a rewatch, and I was like, I want to rewatch it. I miss it so much. Let me think. What other? There haven't been any of like recent that I would like compare directly to this style.
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier Buffy, which I don't even think is a great comparison, but just gave me that sort of like, hanging out in cemeteries and putting demons to rest vibe.
Yeah. That's definitely the Vampire Diaries vibe too. Like, except it's a little more recent than Buffy.
Maybe kind of Shadow Hunters.
No.
Why not?
No. Go there. You could read the books.
I'm not talking.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the
Shadow Hunter series preparing the world to.
Okay, the Shadow Hunter Chronicles.
Yes. I haven't even watched. I've watched like part of the first season of the show. I
didn't
you scared us like, Kat, why are you promoting this show?
I wasn't. I'm thinking of the books because like the system of like the family that like.
Yeah, totally.
Ooh, we got some comments. People are saying The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, maybe?
Oh, yeah, I haven't watched that.
Somebody's saying Supernatural. I haven't watched Supernatural.
I haven't watched it in years.
I watched the first season and it's so episodic. Like, I didn't really like it. I know it must get less episodic.
Storyline later on, but I don't remember what season we're up to. I feel like it's like 15 or 16. Like I'm only up to like season 7 or 8.
Oh my god.
It's the final season. I feel like the final episode just happened last night, or it is happening real soon. But it's all ending very soon.
I can't believe that's still on.
You
know what I want to watch? The Discovery of Witches, and I keep not being able to watch it. I think it's like it's not on like any streamer that's like easy to stream, but everyone loved it.
At 1.2, but it like was hard to find.
Yeah, I watched it on like their media viewer, and it was like you could watch the first episode or something, and then I never watched anymore because like I don't want to go to their media viewer. I want to go to like Hulu. But yeah, I feel like that trend, like this kind of type of paranormal story hasn't trended lately. They're probably going to come back because that's just how things work.
Well, isn't The Archived going to be a show?
Yes, it's in development. Yeah.
I feel like Victoria Shaw was like running it. She's working on
that's for something else. She just sold her like vampire story that's in that like vampire.
It made me think of Coco too. Oh, sorry, I just completely interrupted.
Wait, where'd you see that Coco comment?
JR just said Cemetery Boys made me think of Coco, and it made me think of Coco. Coco was so good. Did you guys see Coco?
Yet, but I need to.
Go watch it. Go watch it.
Is it on Disney Plus?
It's on Netflix. It's on Netflix.
Okay.
That's where me and John watched it on Netflix. I think last year or the beginning of this year. It was so good. And it's about like Day of the Dead.
I heard it's emotional.
It is, but like it's good. Obviously, all good Pixar movies are emotional.
You're not wrong.
But yeah, I kept like seeing Coco, like was my first like real introduction to like all the mythology behind the Day of the Dead and stuff. So like it was cool hearing them talk about it and having like that groundwork in my mind. Yeah, because I had never really learned about it at all. I had like heard of it, and we never talked about it in school. I can't believe you guys haven't seen Coco. I know Maureen talked about Coco a lot.
I don't like watching things that are going to make me cry.
You know what? I mean, it's not like it has a really nice balance.
We'll see.
Like, it's not like we're watching somebody. Never mind.
Don't say you're going to spoil something.
Stop right there.
I will say nothing. It's very sweet. Stop right there. Okay.
So
I'm going my head too.
If there was a sequel to Cemetery Boys, what would you want it to like? What would you happen next in the story?
Well,
like, adventure with
I'd like if
Gabrielle?
I'd
or-
like if they like included more of the characters' point of views and like it made it more of an ensemble, since we already saw Julian and Gabrielle's like big arc story. Like maybe see like some of their friends and like have like an ensemble mystery sort of a thing.
Maybe that Julian brother storyline can come into play.
Yeah, Rio or like Maritza maybe could have more of a storyline, or even like his group of friends, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the big bad would be, like what our overall plot arc would be, but just seeing more smaller subplots and like adventures, I would really
Or like people could like start finding out about Brujos because like leaked, and then like the world knows about that.
Or something like someone who isn't a part of the family can see spirits, and they have to figure out like why the
Yes, like shadow hunters do sometimes. They have the sight.
You have the sight.
You have the sight. Yeah, there's a lot of places you could go with it. Or of course we could see more with Julian and Gabrielle. I can't believe his name was Gabrielle the whole time. And I just thought that it was Gabrielle when I was listening to the audiobook.
Because you have the audio.
How was the audiobook?
It was good. It was good. He was a very good narrator.
That's good. Wait, did the author narrate it?
No. At the end of the audiobook, there's an interview with the narrator and the author, and I only got like 2 minutes in because I finished this soon before we started. But yes, it's a good narrator.
All right. Well, I don't think we have any more questions coming in, unless you guys want to send in some last minute questions.
Someone said, how could Julian see spirits in the end? He could. I thought they were.
I don't think he could.
Maybe not. When they were in the church?
Yeah, unless it was...
Unless they're really there and they're not spirits during Day of the Dead.
It's the, like, when he met Gabrielle's mom.
Yeah.
I think that's because it was the Day of the Dead celebration, and she was there for the 2 days that she comes back for those days.
Like she's like there.
Yeah.
Which is like
he could also hug his mom again, and like she was corporeal. So like I think that's part of what the Brujos get to do as part of their, like, they get to come back once a year. They get to like actually be back.
Yeah. Yeah. Like not just a spirit.
Yeah.
Yes, I saw True Blood. Yeah.
You saw it and that's it.
No, I was going to say True Blood, but also like True Blood feels like it's kind of in a realm of its own with like how vulgar it is, and like it's like
more like rated R-ish.
It's very rated R, especially the first season. There's like so much just like gratuitous sex in the background. Like the first episode I watched 3 times before I decided that I'm going to watch it. Like I didn't want to watch it 3 times. I watched it. I was like, I don't like it. And then someone was like, that's the one. So I was like, okay, I'll watch it. I can't take it. And then like the third time I finally was like, okay, I'll keep going.
Oh man.
It truly gets easier to watch as you go along because you get more in the plot and less about like these gratuitous sex scenes and like
so many shows are like Game of Thrones also had like so much gratuitous nudity and sex scenes in the beginning, and then like they leveled out more and just
it was just like the opening scene of True Blood is literally like some girl is giving head to this guy in the car and they're driving and they have the deepest Southern accents of all time. I remember just thinking, I cannot stand this. Like everyone's talking with like the thickest Southern drawl I've ever heard in my life. And then like the next scene, like I feel like somebody's like strung up and like having sex in like the living room. Like it's just like, what's going on? Is this porn?
Right. Oh man. All right. Well, on that note. That has been our live show for Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. Next month, or this month, I guess, we're reading The Gilded Wolves, and our live show is going to be on the 28th 8th of November. So you guys should pick this up and read it with us. Also, we're having our live show on Wednesday, and we will be discussing NaNoWriMo. It's our Dear Booksplosion live show. You don't have to read a book to join us. You can just join us and chit-chat with us. It's going to be a great time.
Well, not just NaNoWriMo, writing in general.
Yeah, writing in general.
Yeah.
I don't think none of us are doing NaNoWriMo this week.
I mean, Christine kind of did.
Kinda. I guess I had 2 weeks to do my book draft.
Yeah. But we'll talk all about that on Wednesday. I'm Jesse.
I'm Christine.
I'm Kat.
We're Booksplosion. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you guys
Yay!
later.